First contact and humiliation. The star charts weren't supposed to show anything unusual in this sector. Yet there it was, a massive crystalline structure floating between Mars and Jupiter, definitely not of human origin. Dr. Sarah Chen gripped the edge of her console aboard the research vessel Hawking, her knuckles white as she processed the implications. After decades of searching, humanity had finally found proof of alien life. The only problem was, they had found it right in their own backyard. Status report. Captain James Rodriguez called from the bridge, his voice steady despite the tension crackling through the ship's atmosphere. "Sir, the structure is approximately 3 kilometers in length." Sarah responded, her eyes fixed on the readings. "It's generating some kind of quantum field we've never seen before. And it's powering up." Before anyone could react, a beam of purple light swept through the ship. Sarah felt a tingling sensation as it passed through her body. Then a voice, somehow both mechanical and melodious, filled every corner of the vessel. "Preliminary scan complete. Species identification. Human. Technology level. Pre-emergent. Classification. Protected status pending evaluation." The crystalline structure shimmered, and suddenly they were surrounded by ships that seemed to materialize from nowhere. Sleek, predatory vessels that made the Hawking look like a child's toy. The largest of these ships projected a holographic image into the Hawking's bridge. A tall, ethereal being with iridescent skin and 4 arms, wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. "I am High Commander Vexus of the Nexarian Empire," the alien announced, looking down at them with an expression that might have been amusement. "Your species has managed to achieve basic spaceflight." "How? Quaint." Captain Rodriguez straightened his spine. "We've achieved far more than basic spaceflight. We've mastered quantum physics, developed fusion power." Yes," Vexus interrupted, waving a hand dismissively. "Every species goes through these phases. You're approximately where we were 12,000 years ago. Quite admirable, really." Sarah felt her face burn with indignation, but she kept quiet as Rodriguez continued the dialogue. The next hour was excruciating as Vexus explained humanity's new status in the galaxy. Earth would be placed under the protection of the Nexarian Empire. They would be allowed to continue their development, but under strict supervision. Any technology deemed too advanced for their stage of evolution would be confiscated. "This is for your own good," Vexus explained, as if speaking to children. "We've seen too many young species destroy themselves by advancing too quickly. Your quantum research, for instance, charming attempts, but clearly beyond your current capabilities. We'll be dispatching advisors to help redirect your efforts toward more appropriate pursuits." When the transmission ended, Sarah's tablet computer pinged with a priority message from Dr. Yuki Tanaka, her research partner back on Earth. The quantum teleportation prototype they had been secretly developing had just achieved its first successful test. The message contained only 4 words. "Don't tell them about this." Sarah deleted the message immediately, her mind racing with possibilities. On her screen, she could see the Nexarian ships taking up escort positions around Earth, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the sunlight. They looked invincible, untouchable. But Sarah knew something they didn't. Humanity had already cracked the code to instantaneous matter transportation, while the Nexarians were busy patronizing them about appropriate technology. Earth's scientists had been pursuing theories that even the Empire hadn't considered. The quantum teleportation project wasn't just another stepping stone in human development. It was about to become humanity's secret weapon. As the Hawking began its journey back to Earth under Nexarian escort, Sarah caught Captain Rodriguez's eye. A silent understanding passed between them. The Empire could mock humanity all they wanted. Let them think Earth was just another primitive world in need of guidance. Let them underestimate the species that had gone from first flight to space travel in less than 70 years. The real work would happen in secret, in hidden labs and underground facilities. And when the time came to reveal what humanity had achieved, the Empire's laughter would stop very, very quickly. In the weeks that followed, Nexarian advisors began arriving on Earth, setting up offices in major cities and research centers. They carried themselves with an air of benevolent superiority, happy to explain to the primitive humans why certain lines of research were unsuitable for their development level. They never noticed how many of Earth's top scientists seemed to disappear from public view, or how many research facilities suddenly went dark. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, Sarah Chen stared at the quantum equations floating in the holographic display before her. The calculations were revolutionary, representing a completely new understanding of space-time. The Nexarians, for all their advanced technology, had never thought to approach teleportation quite this way. "They think they're protecting us," she murmured to herself, watching as the simulation completed successfully for the 100th time. "They have no idea what we're capable of." In orbit, the crystalline ships of the Nexarian Empire continued their patrol, their crews secure in their superiority, completely unaware that humanity was about to change the rules of the game. The Empire's laughter would soon turn to something very different indeed. The Hidden Project. The abandoned uranium mine shaft in Kazakhstan wasn't on any official maps anymore. Its entrance, concealed by holographic technology that made it look like just another rocky outcropping, led to humanity's best-kept secret. Dr. Marcus Wong adjusted his protective suit as he descended in the elevator, going deeper than any Nexarian sensor could penetrate. Project Prometheus, as they called it, sprawled through 20 levels of underground facilities. The deeper you went, the more impressive it became. On level 12, quantum computers processed calculations that would have made the Empire's scientists scratch their heads in confusion. On level 15, prototype engines waited in massive testing chambers. But it was level 20 that held their greatest achievement. Marcus stepped out of the elevator to find Dr. Sarah Chen already at work in the central lab, her holographic displays filled with equations that would have looked like abstract art to anyone else. She barely looked up as he approached. "The latest simulation worked," she said, her voice tight with excitement. "We can maintain stable quantum tunnels for up to 30 seconds now." "Long enough to move a ship through?" Marcus asked, studying the data scrolling past. "Long enough to move a fleet through." Above them, visible through the reinforced ceiling, a prototype vessel hung suspended in the massive underground chamber. Unlike the sleek, crystalline designs of Nexarian ships, this craft was angular, almost predatory in appearance. Its hull was covered in quantum field generators that could tear holes in spacetime itself. "The Nexarians still think we're working on improving our fusion reactors," Marcus said with a quiet laugh. "Their advisor actually patted me on the head yesterday when I showed him our progress." Sarah's fingers danced across her console, bringing up new simulations. "They're so convinced of their superiority that they never question why we accepted their restrictions so easily. Did you know they've actually decreased their patrol coverage over the past month?" "Complacency," Marcus nodded. "They think they've got us figured out." The project had been in development for 3 years now, ever since first contact. While the Empire's representatives smugly guided humanity toward what they considered appropriate technological development, the best minds on Earth had been working on something unprecedented. The quantum teleportation drive wasn't just an engine. It was a complete reimagining of how space travel could work. A soft alarm chimed, and both scientists turned to watch as robotic arms began moving around the prototype ship. Today's test would push the boundaries further than ever before. If it worked, they would be able to teleport not just small objects, but entire vessels across vast distances instantaneously. "Control, this is Dr. Chen. Begin test sequence Alpha 7, Sarah commanded. The chamber hummed with power as quantum fields began to form around the ship. Unlike traditional engines that pushed against spacetime, their technology simply stepped through it, creating controlled tiers in the fabric of reality itself. The Nexarians, for all their advanced technology, had never considered this approach possible. "Field stability at 98%, Marcus reported, watching the readings climb. "Quantum tunnel forming. Now." For a brief moment, Reality seemed to bend. The air shimmered like a heat mirage, and then the prototype ship simply vanished. 1 second later, it reappeared at the other end of the massive chamber. Distance traveled, 200 meters. Time elapsed, 0.3 seconds. All systems nominal, Marcus announced, his voice steady despite his racing heart. We did it, Sarah. We actually did it. Sarah was already analyzing the data, her eyes bright with triumph. The energy signature is minimal. Their sensors won't be able to distinguish it from background radiation. We can build this into the entire fleet, and they'll never see it coming. In another part of the facility, engineers were already modifying existing Earth ships with the new technology. Each vessel would be capable of instantaneous transportation, appearing and disappearing at will. The Empire's superior numbers and advanced weapons wouldn't matter if they couldn't hit what they couldn't catch. But Project Prometheus wasn't just about building better ships. In a secure room adjacent to the main lab, Sarah had been working on something even more revolutionary. Personal teleportation devices, small enough to fit in a pocket, powerful enough to transport a person across hundreds of kilometers. The Empire thinks they're guiding our development, Sarah said, holding up one of the prototype devices. They have no idea they're about to become obsolete. Marcus watched as she carefully packed away the device. When do we reveal what we can do? Soon, Sarah replied, her expression hardening. The Empire's getting bolder with their protection. They're starting to talk about restricting our colony ships, about limiting our expansion for our own good. Once they cross that line. She left the sentence unfinished, but Marcus understood. Humanity had played the role of the obedient child long enough. The Empire's patronizing guidance was about to backfire spectacularly. In orbit, another Nexarian patrol passed by, their sensors sweeping Earth's surface for any sign of prohibited technology. They found nothing unusual, just as they had for the past 3 years. The Empire's representatives continued their work, secure in their belief that they were shepherding another young species toward controlled development. Deep underground, humanity's secret fleet grew stronger by the day, waiting for the moment when the Empire's laughter would turn to astonishment, and then to fear. The breaking point. The emergency meeting of Earth's Security Council was already in session when Admiral Elena Santos received the news. The Nexarian Empire had begun establishing protective quarantine zones around Earth's outer colony worlds. Without warning or consultation, they had effectively cut off 3 million human colonists from their home world. This is no longer about guidance, Admiral Santos announced to the gathered leaders, her voice tight with controlled anger. This is about control. The holographic display in the center of the chamber showed the situation in stark detail. Nexarian warships had positioned themselves around New Eden, Horizon, and Terra Nova, humanity's most successful colony worlds. Their crystalline vessels formed an impenetrable barrier, allowing nothing in or out without Imperial approval. They claim it's for our protection, Council Chairman Viktor Petrov said, his weathered face grave. According to their latest communication, they're concerned about our rapid and potentially destabilizing expansion. Dr. Sarah Chen, recently promoted to Director of Special Projects, stepped forward. They're afraid. We've exceeded their expectations for our development, and now they're moving to contain us before we can progress further. The council chamber, hidden 2 kilometers beneath the Antarctic ice, was one of the few places on Earth where humans could speak freely without fear of Imperial surveillance. The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. They were having to hide in their own solar system. How ready is Project Prometheus? Admiral Santos asked, turning to Sarah. The fleet is ready, Sarah replied, bringing up new holographic data. 30 ships, all equipped with quantum teleportation drives. The personal devices are also ready for deployment to our Special Forces teams. A murmur ran through the chamber. For 3 years, they had hidden their true capabilities, playing the role of the compliant species while secretly preparing for this moment. Now, the Empire had forced their hand. We've just received another transmission from High Commander Vexus, and Aide announced, rushing into the chamber. The holographic display shifted, showing the familiar figure of the Imperial commander. His usual condescending smile was gone, replaced by what looked like genuine concern. "People of Earth," Vexus began, his tone carefully measured. "We have detected concerning patterns of development in your colonial expansion. For your own safety and the stability of this sector, we are implementing temporary restrictions on interstellar travel. This is not a punishment, but rather a necessary step in guiding your species toward proper development." Admiral Santos switched off the transmission with a sharp gesture. "They're not even trying to hide their intentions anymore. The quarantine zones are just the beginning. They'll keep restricting us until we're completely under their control." "What about our colonists?" someone asked. "There are children out there, families. The Empire is allowing limited supply shipments through, under their supervision," Chairman Petrov replied. "But they're screening everything, controlling exactly what technology and resources can reach the colonies." Sarah exchanged glances with Admiral Santos. They both knew what was coming next. The Admiral nodded slightly, and Sarah activated her secure tablet. "Project Prometheus isn't just about the ships," she announced. "We've been secretly transporting quantum teleporters to all our colonies over the past year, disguised as medical equipment. Every colony has a hidden cache of devices, ready to be activated on our signal." The council chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. This was news to most of them. The project's details had been compartmentalized for security. "The Empire thinks they can contain us by controlling space travel," Sarah continued. "They don't realize we've already moved beyond that limitation. Their quarantine zones are based on stopping ships. They can't stop our quantum tunneling technology." Admiral Santos stepped forward again. "We've prepared for this. Special Forces teams are already in position, equipped with personal teleporters. The fleet is ready. The only question remaining is, do we act now?" The chamber fell silent as Chairman Petrov stood. For a long moment, he studied the holographic display showing the blockaded colonies. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with the weight of the decision. "They came to our solar system uninvited. They treated us like children. They mocked our achievements. And now they presume to imprison our people for our own good." He looked around the chamber, meeting each council member's eyes. "We've tried diplomacy. We've endured their condescension. But this crosses a line." The vote was unanimous. Operation Breakout would begin in 24 hours. In orbit, the Nexarian ships continued their patrol, their crews confident in their absolute control of the situation. They had no way of knowing that beneath the surface of every colony world, hidden teleporters were being distributed to key personnel. They couldn't detect the quantum signatures of Earth's secret fleet, waiting in underground bases across the planet. The Empire's laughter was about to die in their throats. Humanity had been patient, had played the role of the primitive species learning at the feet of their betters. But that act was about to end, and the galaxy would never be the same. Unveiling the fleet, High Commander Vexus was reviewing reports of the quarantine operation when the first alarm sounded. On his command ship's main display, dozens of unknown vessels had suddenly appeared throughout the blockade zone. They seemed to materialize from nowhere, their angular black hulls a stark contrast to the crystalline elegance of Imperial ships. "Impossible," he muttered, rising from his command chair. "Status report." "Sir, we're detecting quantum distortions unlike anything in our database," his science officer reported, mandibles clicking in agitation. "These ships, they're human vessels." Before Vexus could respond, a transmission cut through all Imperial communications channels. The face that appeared on his screen was human. Admiral Elena Santos, her expression stern and unyielding. "This is Admiral Santos of the Terran Defense Fleet to all Imperial vessels. Your blockade of our colonies ends now. You have 1 hour to withdraw." Vexus felt a surge of anger at the primitive species' audacity. "This is High Commander Vexus. Your ships will power down immediately, or we will be forced to demonstrate why the Empire has ruled this sector for 10,000 years. A slight smile crossed Santos's face. "Commander, I don't think you understand the situation. Allow us to demonstrate." The human ships vanished. 1 second they were there, the next, nothing. Vexus barely had time to process this before they reappeared, each one now positioned directly alongside an Imperial vessel. The humans had somehow transported their entire fleet instantaneously, with precision that should have been impossible. "That was a warning," Santos continued. "We've spent 3 years preparing for this moment. While you were busy mocking our primitive technology, we developed something you never even considered possible." Deep within the Nexarian command ship, something was happening. Imperial guards found themselves confronting human soldiers who appeared out of thin air, armed with weapons that hadn't existed in any known database. The personal quantum teleporters gave them free reign of the vessel, bypassing every security measure. On New Eden, the first of the blockaded colonies, the scene was repeating itself. Hundreds of colonists were vanishing from their homes, teleporting past the Imperial blockade using devices that had been hidden away for months. The Empire's carefully constructed containment was unraveling in minutes. "This is your final warning," Santos announced. "Withdraw your ships and the blockade, and we can discuss new terms for our relationship as equals." Vexus watched in mounting horror as reports flooded in from across the sector. Human ships were appearing and disappearing at will, rendering the Empire's superior numbers meaningless. Their advanced weapons were useless against vessels that could simply teleport away from any attack. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "we're detecting quantum signatures inside our engine core. They've transported boarding teams directly into our critical systems." The impossible truth dawned on Vexus. The Empire, for all its technological advancement, had become complacent. They had assumed their understanding of physics was complete, that no primitive species could surprise them. That arrogance had left them blind to the humans' revolutionary approach to quantum mechanics. "All Imperial vessels, stand down," Vexus ordered, his voice heavy with the weight of this historic moment. "End the blockade. Open a channel for negotiations." Throughout the sector, Imperial ships began powering down their weapons. The great Nexarian Empire, which had dominated this region of space for millennia, had just been outmaneuvered by a species they had dismissed as barely worth noticing. Admiral Santos allowed herself a small smile as she watched the Imperial fleet retreat. In her earpiece, she could hear reports from the ground teams. The colonies were secure, their people free to move again. Project Prometheus had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. Dr. Sarah Chen's voice came through on a private channel. "They never saw it coming, did they? All that time they spent lecturing us about appropriate technology, and they never once imagined we might approach the problem from a completely different angle. Their biggest mistake was thinking they had nothing to learn from us," Santos replied. "Speaking of which, how's the next phase coming along?" "The improved drives are ready," Sarah confirmed. "While they were watching our colonies, we were building something even better. The new system can transport ships across entire sectors instantaneously. The galaxy just got a lot smaller." In the aftermath of what would become known as the breakout, the balance of power shifted dramatically. The Empire's representatives, who had once patted humans on the head like children, now found themselves requesting technological exchanges. The species they had mocked had just revolutionized space travel, and the implications were still unfolding. The laughter had stopped, replaced by a new respect, and more than a little fear. Humanity had proven that innovation doesn't follow a predetermined path, and that sometimes the most significant breakthroughs come from those who are underestimated. A new balance. 6 months after the breakout, the Grand Hall of the Galactic Concordat hummed with tension. Representatives from 100 species gathered to witness something unprecedented: the signing of the Equal Development Treaty. At the center of attention stood Admiral Elena Santos and Dr. Sarah Chen, representing Earth, facing High Commander Vexus and the Imperial delegation. The Empire's crystalline ships still patrolled their territories, but now they were matched by the angular silhouettes of human vessels that could appear anywhere, at any time. The balance of power had shifted irreversibly. "Let the record show," announced the Concordet's chief mediator, their multifaceted eyes gleaming, "that the Nexarian Empire formally recognizes Earth and its colonies as a sovereign power, with all rights and privileges thereof." Vexus stepped forward, his iridescent skin reflecting the chamber's light. "We acknowledge that our previous approach to emerging civilizations was flawed. Humanity has taught us a valuable lesson about the dangers of presumption." Sarah couldn't help but notice how different his tone was now. Gone was the condescension, replaced by carefully measured respect. The Empire had learned the hard way that technological advancement didn't always follow their expected path. "Earth accepts this recognition," Admiral Santos replied, her voice carrying through the chamber. "And we propose a new framework for interstellar relations, one based on mutual respect rather than arbitrary hierarchies." The treaty they signed that day would reshape galactic society. No longer would older civilizations be allowed to guide younger ones. Instead, a system of open exchange would be established, allowing each species to develop along its own path. In the months that followed, Earth's quantum teleportation technology revolutionized galactic travel, but humanity didn't hoard their discovery as the Empire might have done. Instead, they established the Quantum Sciences Institute, a neutral facility where scientists from all species could study and advance the technology together. "The Empire's mistake wasn't just underestimating us," Sarah explained to a group of alien scientists, including several Nexarians who had once dismissed her work. "It was assuming that technological progress follows a single, predetermined path. Look at your own history. Each of your species developed unique solutions to similar problems. The Institute's main laboratory had become a symbol of this new approach. Humans worked alongside former Imperial scientists, combining Earth's revolutionary quantum mechanics with the Empire's advanced materials science. Together, they were pushing the boundaries of what was possible." Admiral Santos found herself spending more time in diplomatic meetings than on her ship's bridge. Every emerging civilization in the sector wanted to establish relations with Earth, seeing them as a counterbalance to Imperial influence. "We're not interested in replacing the Empire as the galaxy's overlords," she frequently reminded her staff. "Our goal is to ensure no species ever faces the kind of patronizing protection we endured." In a private meeting with High Commander Vexus, now serving as the Empire's chief diplomat to Earth, Santos saw something she never expected: genuine humility. "We had grown so confident in our understanding of the universe," Vexus admitted, "that we forgot the most important lesson of science. There is always more to discover. Your quantum teleportation technology shouldn't have been possible according to our physics. That alone should have taught us that our knowledge was incomplete." The conversation was interrupted by a priority alert. A young civilization in a nearby sector had just achieved faster-than-light travel. Under the old system, they would have immediately fallen under Imperial protection. Now they would be welcomed into the galactic community as equals. "Shall we greet them together?" Santos suggested. "Show them that the galaxy has changed." Vexus agreed, and within moments, their ships, one crystalline, one angular black, appeared in the newcomers' system. The message they brought was simple: welcome to a galaxy where innovation and diversity were celebrated, not controlled. Dr. Chen, watching from Earth's new quantum observatory, couldn't help but smile at the irony. The Empire's attempt to contain humanity had instead sparked a revolution in how civilizations interacted. Their laughter had died, but something better had replaced it: mutual respect and genuine collaboration. In the decades that followed, humanity's reputation grew not just for their technological innovation, but for their role in fostering a more equitable galaxy. The quantum teleporters that had once been weapons of liberation became tools of exploration and unity, allowing species to meet and exchange ideas freely. The Empire learned to laugh with others rather than at them, and the galaxy was richer for it. As for humanity, they never forgot the lesson of their own history. True strength lies not in mockery or dominance, but in the courage to forge new paths and the wisdom to share them with others.